Vayne is one of the most manipulative and cunning villains in Final Fantasy. To me, what makes him a very strong antagonist is not his skill and abilities in combat, but rather his qualities. When we look at villains from other video games, they are very well known for their abilities in combat, and they possess some form of magical abilities that allow them to twist certain events in the stories in their favor. To list a few, I'm thinking of Ganondorf from the Zelda series, Sin from Final Fantasy X, Barthandelus from Final Fantasy XIII, Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, the Wild Hunt in The Witcher 3, the list goes on. They all have certain inhuman aspects about them that make them terrifying as antagonists in the games. Vayne is on a different boat, however, as he is the type of villain that one would see in a political movie. He possesses no magical abilities of his own. In fact, he doesn't show any sort of inhuman capabilities until the final battle. And even then, he required the help of a god in order to achieve that power. Despite his ordinary status as a villain throughout the games, he still served as a massive obstacle to Princess Ashe's quest to reclaim the throne of Dalmasca and re-establish it as a kingdom independent from imperial rule. But just like all of the other villains in games, he had restrictions that prevented him from being a super chaotic villain. In this video, we will be looking at some of the rules established for the creation of Vayne Solidor and how those rules affected his actions throughout the events of Final Fantasy XII. For those who are not aware of this concept, each character is created with a set of qualities that define their personality and are a driving force for their actions in the story. The rules are what I use to define these qualities, and I connect them with some of the actions the characters do in the events of the games. While it is easy to come up with a lot of rules, I keep it to a minimum, so for each character, I look for 3 rules that define their personalities the most, but I am sure there are others that can be discussed. As always, if you are enjoying my content, please be sure to leave this video a like, as well as subscribe to the channel and hit that post notification bell so you know when a new video gets uploaded on this channel. Other than that, let's go ahead with analyzing the rules of Vayne Solidor from Final Fantasy XII. The first rule for Vayne Solidor is that he does not engage in direct combat throughout the story. We see in the events of the game that Vayne does not directly engage in any battles during the events of the game, as we often see his Imperial army fight while he works behind the scenes to obtain more power. It is mostly seen through his Judge Magisters who uphold law and order in Ivalice. Even when one of their own betrays the leader, another judge simply steps in, as when Bergen stopped Drace from acting against Vayne after the death of his father, and Gabranth being forced to deal the final blow to the traitor. It is not till the very end, when all of Vayne's allies are either dead or have deserted him, that he is forced to fight the party, with the help of Vayne. We see Vayne's true power as a warrior and his enhanced powers after merging with the power of Vayne and fused with metal parts from the Sky Fortress Bahamut. Vayne is a very formidable foe until the very end, when he finally dies at the hands of the party. The second rule for Vayne, and perhaps a more sinister one, is that he is willing to do anything to further his ambitions. The first hint we see of this is his desire for the Emperor's throne. First by killing his older brothers, albeit at the behest of his father for his fear of the same ambition coming from them, to the old man being poisoned to death himself by none other than Vayne in his pursuit to the throne. Vayne even goes as far as framing the counselors in charge of endorsing Arcadia's next emperor for the poisoning of his father, thus paving the road for Vayne to become the de facto ruler of Arcadia. Another exploit he goes to is the use of mist and the power of the gods in order to improve his military capabilities in order to quell his foes. This leads to the use of the energy from the Sun Crest to power up the Sky Fortress Bahamut, an airship capable of destroying entire fleets, as we see in the battle against the Resistance. His charisma is the perfect blanket to his more sinister side, as despite his brutal methods of reaching the title of Emperor, his charisma is capable of winning entire crowds that are otherwise hostile to him during their occupation of Dalmasca at the start of the game. His brutality, even at the extent of the lives of his family, and yet his ability to avoid direct engagement himself, is a perfect formula for a mere human being to be such as conniving and manipulative as one who possesses strong abilities. His last rule, which is interesting as I consider this very different from his portrayal in the game, is a soft spot for his younger brother Larsa. Despite his cruel actions throughout the events of the game, he makes sure he protects his younger brother from any danger. While part of it can be to protect his clans as he is aware that Larsa is allied with the party, he makes sure that no harm goes to Larsa. It is likely that since Larsa is the younger brother, Vayne feels that Larsa poses no threat to the title of Emperor. The endorsement of the young boy by the council causes Vayne to go after the latter instead of his younger brother. It is only due to Larsa's defiance of Vayne and his siding with the party in their final battle that causes Vayne to go to battle with the person he protected throughout the event of the game. I think this rule of Vayne Solidor is what gives him that bit of humanity in a world where he is surrounded by those loyal to him, those who seek to gain political power over him, as well as the influence of gods. His soft spot for Larsa shows the human side of Vayne, which I admire. And those are 3 of the rules I have analyzed with Vayne from Final Fantasy XII. If there are any others I may have missed that you think that are important, feel free to comment down below, and be sure to leave a like on this video if you like this concept, and subscribe to the channel if you wish to see more content. Other than that, this is Enzo signing out, and I will see you in the next video.